What's up, guys? I'm back like I never left. I have a new video that I'd like to share, so let's get into it.
Still, we had 10 grand's worth of savings, which we had saved up for my maternity leave, but because it was COVID times, we didn't spend any of it because no one was going out and spending any money. So we just ploughed all into the house, basically. I appreciate being in that position. We're very, very fortunate. So I'm not taking anything away from that. But yeah, just having those childcare fees it's just so expensive. And if you don't know this already, childcare fees in the UK are the second most expensive in the developed world, and there hasn't been enough investment into the childcare infrastructure, and because of that, costs are being passed on to parents, and yeah, we're having to stump up for those costs. And I'm definitely not saying I'm not going to get too political about it, but I'm not saying people should be paying for our children, but we should at least be at a point where we are at the same level as other Western societies, where societies understand the importance of having the next generation of people be born, basically. And I also feel I promise myself I'm not going to get too political, but I also feel as new parents, and especially new mums, but even dads get this as well, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. So if you don't go to work, you kind of get people sort of going, oh, you're a stay-at-home mum, like you're way net a slob. Or if you do go to work, people are like, well, oh, you're getting someone else to raise your kids for you, and it's just a lose-lose situation. So yeah, I always knew the nursery fees were going to be a temporary fix for a longer-term solution. And luckily, fortunately, even though we are £16,000 in debt, we are in a much better position financially. We actually haven't spent too much on our credit cards in the last 6-7 months. We haven't needed to because our career's a lot more stable. I'm in a role where I'm not commission based anymore, so our income's more stable. We don't have to pay the childcare fees, of course. So that's kind of why we've decided to tackle this now when we're in this position. But the problem is that we're starting off on the back foot. So yeah, that's kind of why we're in this position we are now. If you're still here, thanks so much for listening. I'd love to hear your views on the childcare situation. I know there has been a reform in it, but there's still continuous problems with that reform. There's a lot of robbing Peter to pay Paul kind of situation. Again, I'm not getting political about it, but yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts. And yeah, have a great week, everyone, and I'll catch up with you soon. Bye.
I just saw a video on the FYP saying that a report came out. I don't know when the report came out, but this is what the video said. A report came out that childcare in 40 states is now more expensive than college. And I just have to explain something. When these people inevitably complain about a birth decline, everything that's going to do with our economy, because it's going to fuck us up. Remember this. I would have been on my third child by now if it had not been for the price of childcare alone. Alone. I can afford to feed them, I can afford to clothe them and house them, but I cannot afford $3,500 times 3. Or even 2. Or even 1. The daycare I was on before, I was on a financial aid program through the courts that I worked for. Hey babe. And then now my man, who just walked by, stays home with our daughter because he studies and does school at night, and then stays home with our daughter during the day so that we don't have to pay the childcare. Because it should not cost the same as a fucking mortgage to have my kid at a daycare or a preschool. So when they complain about this birth decline, just remember that there's women like me who fully love motherhood, who chose motherhood, who would have 2 or 3 kids max, because let's not get crazy, but can't and won't because of the system that they designed.
Okay, so get this. I'm just going through our bank statement, just looking to see how much more money is going to be dug out for Christmas because it's Christmas Eve. Anyways, I noticed that our daycare charged us $50. And I thought that was weird because they had asked me if B was going to be there, and I said no. So, and we've never been charged $50. That would be a really weird amount. So I call and ask, and I'm like, hey, why were we charged $50? I thought this week in my head would be free, and next week would be free. I actually thought we'd be saving $125 this week and next. And anyways, I call, and she goes, oh, yeah, so she's not here this week, right? And I said, no. She goes, okay, well, we don't charge for food this week, but we charge for aftercare. And I said, oh, okay. So when you guys choose to close, which they've chosen to close for 2 weeks because she's in the pre-K for school, which for the 2 weeks they want to charge $500 for care. And then they would have charged me another $125 for her to be there after hours, which they're not even allowed to be there all after hours because they're on special holiday hours. So they still charge you, and because we didn't use our half days of vacation days, they were nice enough to give us the discount and give us $50 and charge us only $50. But I guess I'm just so naive or mind blown that you're choosing to close down your facility. You asked if we needed the extra childcare, which we didn't, and then we still get charged. But I'm not even allowed to bring my kid there right now from 2:30 to 5:30 or 6, because then they would charge us even more. But we have to pay to like hold our spot for 2 weeks when they chose to shut down. I don't know. My mind's like blown. I just can't make it make sense. Thankfully it's only $50. I'm just cheap, but I was so confused why they would charge us $50.
It's ignored the fact my potato was literally not cooked on the inside whatsoever. But what I was saying is childcare is so expensive, it's unbelievable. Like my upfront costs, bearing in mind I'm not going for like a fancy nursery, and they still want £900 up front, and then that's 2 weeks before the initial payment. I mean, I know it settles itself out, and obviously being on my own, I can claim 85% back, but bearing in mind they sort of only pay like 50% of that the next month, and then it takes like something stupid between 3 and 6 months to fully catch up. So, anyway, I'm just baffled because where I'm in emergency accommodation, I don't have any cooking facilities, nothing, so I have to get things that you can either make through hot water through a kettle, or on the odd evenings I can come here, I can make dinner. I just don't get how the system works, because I'm still working because I want to provide for my children. We love it when the phone dies, but I was just essentially saying I don't get how it's supposed to work, how you're supposed to afford to live, work, look after children on your own. You know, the system's supposed to be there to support you. And I don't really think it does that, to be honest.
So mum, dad, parents, whatever, help me with childcare, child cost, who pays, who doesn't. If you don't get funding, who should pay? You're both parents, obviously we're not together. My daughter actually doesn't see her dad as he chooses not to. But she is our daughter and we both work. Bearing in mind he works, 60 something hours a week, works a lot, whatever, earns a lot of money. And because I can't get child funding, I've now got to pay child costs. Right. So if she's both our daughter and we both work, why isn't that split? Like, am I making sense or am I not? Because I don't know if I'm being unfair. I don't know if I'm being unrealistic as a parent. Are we expected to pay half if we both work? Now, I can't even work full time because I wouldn't be able to afford childcare, because it's another mortgage, so it's another month's rent, whatever. So I only work a couple of days a week. I can't afford to put her in full time. Why am I expected to pay for childcare when we both work? I'm struggling to fucking take a breath. Why should I suffer and not be able to work when he can work because he don't pay for childcare when he's got a child? Like, can someone please help me and tell me what's right from wrong, because I don't know. I feel like I'm now fucking suffering. Sorry, I don't want to get upset. I feel like now I'm suffering because I've now got to fork out all these fees for childcare. Like, honestly, I can't.
I just saw a video of someone asking, like, why preschools, the cheapest starting out, the tuition is like $1,700 a month. And to a lot of people, yeah, that sounds very unreasonable. I can understand that. I can understand why someone might think that. However, I'm speaking as someone who used to work in childcare. That was literally the first ever job that I got as a young adult. I was like 20? Yeah, I was 20-ish when I got my first job in childcare. I'm not going to say the company that I used to work for, but I used to work in childcare. The reason why tuition starting out is that much for the cheapest childcare, right, is because, one, they feed your children at least 2 meals a day. Feed them breakfast and lunch, if you make it to breakfast time. And then they also give children 3 snacks a day. They give them 3 snacks a day. And what they feed them is very, very nutritional, very good food. And they also take into consideration the child's dietary restrictions for allergies, things like that, right? Or like some parents choose to have their child as vegetarian or vegan, so they have to eat certain things. Most companies will make the parents bring their vegetarian friendly or their vegan friendly diet options for the child, right? And then for babies and toddlers, they change the diapers every 2 hours. Now, kids are there for typically, for longest period of time, they're there for 7 hours, 6 to 7 hours. Ideally, you should only be leaving your child there for 4 to 5 hours at most. But again, not everyone has that luxury. Most people work at 9 to 5. They work 8 hours a day. So that makes sense, that they're there for 7 hours. So they're going to be changing the diapers every 2 hours. And then for preschool age, they're teaching them how to use the potty at the parent's discretion. They are teaching from 2 years old on. They're teaching your child how to use the bathroom and learn what their body is telling them when they need to use the bathroom for certain things, whether it be number 1, number 2. Okay? And then they're not just teaching your child curriculum and like age appropriate like things to get them to a point where they need to be mentally. They're also teaching your child empathy. They're teaching them to care for others. To see, oh, little Johnny is upset. How can I help them not be upset? Oh, what I've done, like hitting them with the toy or taking the toy away from them or whatever. It teaches them to see, oh, my actions affected someone else. And now what can I do to make that better, to reconcile what I've done. Okay, you follow me still? They're also teaching that. So while yes, $1,700 at a base, at a minimum. This is a minimum. This is like the cheapest option you can find. That sounds like a lot, but you're getting all of that. You're getting all of that, and on top of that, the preschool teachers, the preschool caregivers, they're putting up with a lot of behavioral I'm not gonna say they're issues, because they try not to say, you know, like, oh, whatever this child does doesn't mean that the child is bad. The child isn't bad, but the behavior is undesirable, okay? Right? That's things like biting, that's things like outbursting on other children. That's things like, you know, not listening. That's things like, you know, like that. There's a lot of undesirable behaviors that children exhibit that the teachers have to put up with, and they have to do it with a smile on their face, and they cannot get mad at the child. They cannot show any type of negative feeling towards the child when they're acting a certain way. They have to remain calm. They have to talk to them in a gentle way. They have to handle it in a gentle manner, because if they don't, that traumatizes the child. And I don't know about you, but if someone were to traumatize my child in childcare, where I'm supposed to trust them to keep my child safe, I would not be okay with that. I would not be okay with that. I'd be very, very upset. So that's what these people have to do, on top of everything else. And they also have to keep track of up to, at the most, up to 20 different other kids, up to 30 different other kids.
Okay, guys, that's the end of the video. And what I'm getting from this is that, you know, a lot of people is complaining again about the, you know, the cost of childcare. And my recommendation is that is either the parents is going to rotate schedule, one home, one at work, or one person stay at home full time with the child or children. It's the only way. You know, as far as in today's times, that's going to be the only way that you're going to be able to offset the cost for childcare. It makes sense. It doesn't make sense for both parents to be at work and then having to pay, you know, thousands of dollars close to college tuitions, you know, for daycare and for childcare. It makes absolutely no sense. So you can avoid that cost by one person staying at home full time, or if both parties are working, you can just rotate the schedule, and that should be able to work perfectly fine. That's the video for today, and I'll see you on the next one. I'm out.